Tanking hits, crowd control, and boy fisting are Pinkyy's specialty. With a high health pool, as well as melee-centric abilities, you're going to want to play her right in front of the pack, up close and personal. As of the most recent update, Pinkyy's the only character to utilize armor instead of shields, meaning if you get into some trouble, you can't just ease up and wait a sec to have a bit of your health regen. In order to get that armor back, you're going to have to either pop a potion, or get in there, and use your melee ability, Titan Punch. Let's talk about it right quick. Titan Punch is a short-range melee attack with a base damage of 120 that regens 100 points of armor when you strike an enemy. It's got quite a bit in common with Jimmy's melee ability, Shield Drain. Hell, if you were to just flat out compare the two, Jimmy's has a bit of an edge over Pinky's. From base damage to cooldown, it's just a bit better. But context is key here. With hardly any shields and a lower health pool, you're preferably going to want to keep your distance as Jimmy. However, since Pinkyy has much more of an up-close and aggressive kit, this means it's much more effective as a means of regaining armor. But do you really want to get that armor back? Her passive, Iron Will, boosts your damage output by 30% when you don't have any armor points. This means your weapon damage, melee damage, and skill power are going to get a bonus as long as you're out of armor. Not only that, but this boost is increased to a pretty substantial 50% when your total health dips below 30%. These two abilities alone give Pinkyy quite an interesting playstyle. You want to keep your health topped off by playing it slow and steady? Punch some boys. Or do you want to go full on glass cannon? Now, it's really important to note that you only get both bonuses if you have no armor and you're at under 30% HP. So if you're at 10 health with a single point of armor, your passive isn't going to kick in at all. Next, her mobility. Leap. You jump into the air, dealing damage and yeeting boys you land on. The damage itself is pretty but having a way to get over pits or on top of little hills quickly is always convenient. You gotta be careful though. Since you become staggered for a bit after landing, it's important you don't over or undershoot your targets, as stopping for even a second can be dangerous in this game. Also, it's really handy if you're a fucking idiot like me who throws themselves off of cliffs constantly. Onto her charge skill, Iron Rush, which I honestly find a little underwhelming late game, but more on that in a sec. You charge up for an attack that deals between 120 and 300 damage depending on the charge level, as well as knocking boys into the air. If you wait until charge level 3, at the end of the attack you let out an explosion that deals an extra 150 impact damage. You also get a nice little 75% damage reduction while you're channeling the attack, which is good, because if you didn't have it, you just eat shit as soon as you started charging it. Now, I said the skill is kinda underwhelming. It's not that it's bad, I like it even. I think it's badass. I just feel like the 75% damage reduction should persist throughout the entirety of the attack, instead of just the charge portion of it. How it stands, I feel the best way to utilize this skill is to use your utility, wait till it's fully charged, and play some 10-pin duck bowling. And, hopefully not get one shot by the turtle fucks while you're doing it. Lastly, her utility. Barrier sets out a shield wall that blocks all incoming damage for 10 seconds. This thing is incredibly fancy. Unlike some games that have a skill like this, you can actually shoot through it. Sick. Well, you can cheese boys with this thing, you still gotta be careful. Nades can go over it, and rockets can still land on top of you. Also, guys can just kinda walk around it. Good skill though. Really like it. And that's her kit. Other than a couple of weak spots, I feel like Pinkyy's in a pretty alright place. Yeah, there's a couple of things that can be changed or improved, but the game's still in alpha. It's got a long fucking way to go. Anyway, with her abilities out of the way, how should you build her? Well, I'd personally recommend trying to stack health and defense. She's a tank after all, right? Building her this way means your passive secondary bonus will kick in at a higher health total, meaning you'll get the maximum damage bonus while remaining somewhat healthy. For a primary, I think she works best with a shotgun. Melee range is where she thrives, so I feel they're a perfect fit. They're also a big plus because you're never going to have to worry about ammo with them. An SMG is a good pick for a secondary. With their incredibly high rate of fire, you can just stun lock bigger threats down, or use them to interrupt crowds of boys. I'd say use one with an increased reload speed. Since they already reload quickly, this means you've got a gun that's magazine size is limited only by how much ammo you've got. Pinkyy is a very easy character to get a good grasp on, with some simple and straightforward moves, and the most health out of all the other hunters. She's a safe bet if you're just starting out and looking for someone who's a bit easier to play, and who has a bit more survivability. But just because she's easy to play, don't think she can't hold her own late game. With her Titan Punch, she's got the sustain to stay in the middle of fights, and with the Leap, she's either got a way to initiate or get out of fights quickly. With all that said, I can't wait to see what the devs have in store for her later on down the line. She's without a doubt my favorite hunter to play. And really, I'm just looking forward to the rest of this game's development. If you've enjoyed what you've seen in this video and want to get a hold of it yourself, there's a link to the game's website in the description. Thanks for sticking around.